They found the body at dawn, wedged between two slabs of broken concrete in an old gravel pit outside the city of Marsden Ridge. The cold autumn air had settled into the man's skin, turning it pale and stiff like wax. One of his shoes was missing, and his left hand was crushed, as if someone had stepped on it repeatedly or struck it with something heavy. But the strangest detail wasn't the injuries. It was the object placed carefully on the man's chest. A stainless steel firefighter badge with the number carved out. Just a deep scratch where the number should have been. Detective Daniel Cross arrived before the sun fully rose. He stood on the edge of the pit, hands in his pockets, eyes fixed on the corpse below. Male, 40s, neck broken. Cause of death looks like blunt force trauma to the head, but the badge was intentional. Daniel crouched down. The badge is the message. Then he saw something else. Sand under the victim's fingernails. Thick, wet, clumped sand. But there was no wet sand in this gravel pit, which meant the victim had been somewhere else, dragged here after death. Daniel reached into the man's jacket pocket. A folded piece of paper. On it, in shaky handwriting, he burned alive. Because of them. Daniel exhaled slowly. This wasn't going to be a simple homicide. This was someone sending a warning. Back at the precinct, the victim was identified as Martin Hayes, retired fire captain. He quit the fire department 12 years ago. No criminal record, no deaths, nothing suspicious. Except for one thing. In 2011, he responded to a house fire in the South District. 3 people died, including a child. Hayes survived with burn scars on his left arm. After that night, he abruptly left the department and never returned. The fire case from the fire was thin, too thin. Daniel flipped through the pages. Cause of fire. Appliance malfunction. But the electrical report was missing. The interview notes were missing. The follow-up investigation was marked closed due to insufficient evidence. A cover-up or incompetence? Daniel leaned back in his chair. Hayes had clearly been holding on to something. His final message hinted at guilt. But guilt about what? He called the old station where Hayes used to work. A man answered. Deputy Chief Rowan. His voice tensed when Daniel mentioned the name. Hayes. Haven't heard that name in years. Did he have enemies? A long silence. Detective, Hayes wasn't murdered because of something recent. If someone wanted him dead, it's because of what happened back then. Back when? Rowan sighed. The fire. Daniel closed his eyes. Of course. Daniel drove to the location of the 2011 fire. The house was gone, rebuilt into a modern 2-story home with white siding and a manicured lawn. A woman in her late 30s answered the door. Detective Cross, I'm looking into the Hayes homicide. Your house, this address, was the site of a major structure fire in 2011. The woman froze. I know, she whispered. My family bought the land 2 years after. We know someone died here.
3 people, Daniel corrected softly. The woman swallowed. Why now, after all these years? Because someone connected to the fire was just murdered. She hesitated, stepped aside, and handed him a dusty cardboard box. We found this buried in the foundation when we remodeled. Old papers, burned photos. Thought they belonged to the previous owners, but maybe, she paused, maybe they matter to you. Daniel took the box to his car, opened it, and immediately understood. Inside were scorched documents, legal papers, medical bills, insurance claims, a restraining order application, and a child's drawing. A house with flames, a stick figure screaming. Above it, in shaky handwriting, "Daddy started it." Daniel felt the blood drain from his face. Somebody had caused that fire intentionally, and someone else was killing the people who knew. The call came that night at 2:27 a.m. "Detective Cross, you're needed at Westbridge Park." Another one. Daniel arrived to find the body of Elliot Mann, a former firefighter who served on the same squad as Hayes in 2011. Unlike Hayes, Mann had been beaten brutally. Both arms broken, jaw shattered, ribs crushed, and on his chest was placed a second object, a melted firefighter helmet visor. Another message. Nearby, written on the pavement, in black marker, "They let him die." Who?" the officer beside Daniel asked. Daniel didn't answer. He already had a horrible suspicion. Whoever was doing this wasn't just killing at random. They were recreating something from the fire. And Daniel needed to know who him referred to. He called Rowan again. But this time, Rowan didn't answer. At the fire station, Daniel finally confronted Rowan in person. The deputy chief looked pale, older than his years. "I warned you," Rowan muttered. "That fire, we were told to drop it. Higher-ups, city council, everyone." "Why?" "I rubbed his temple, because the father survived." "Whose father?" Rowan hesitated. "The child who died. The boy in the fire. His dad was the one who caused it. Domestic violence case. He locked the family in the house and set the fire." Daniel felt a cold knot form in his chest. "And Hayes and Mann, they were the first on scene?" "Yes, they broke the door. They tried to get the family out." "Tried?" Daniel snapped. "What aren't you telling me?" Rowan looked away. "They only pulled out the father. Not the mother. Not the boy." Daniel's breath caught. "You're saying they saved the arsonist, but left the victims inside?" Rowan nodded slowly. "That's why Hayes quit. Mann requested transfer a year later. The others, they kept their mouths shut." Daniel exhaled sharply. Someone was avenging that night, and the list of survivors was shrinking. Daniel tracked down the father, Peter Vance, now living in a halfway house, a ghost of a man with hollow eyes. He didn't deny anything. "They should have let me burn," Vance said. "I told them. I begged them. My wife. My son. I don't remember everything, but I remember being dragged out. I remember Hayes screaming at someone. I remember Mann crying. I remember the boy's hand." Daniel's voice softened. "What about it?" Vance's eyes filled with tears. "He grabbed my sleeve. He was alive. They could have saved him." Daniel froze. "And they didn't because you were blocking the doorway?" "No." Vance shook violently. They didn't because the chief told them to stand down. Rowan? Daniel whispered. No, someone higher. Someone who arrived minutes later. Someone who said the structure was too unstable. Someone who wanted the case closed. Daniel's pulse quickened. Who? Vance's voice dropped to a whisper. He wore a captain's insignia. His name was Holt. Captain Holt? Dead for 8 years. But someone was still following his orders or avenging them. The killer struck again. This time, the body was found in a burnt-out car on the edge of the industrial district. The victim? Alfred Dean, former fire investigator assigned to the 2011 case. A man who signed off on the accidental fire ruling. Inside the car, on the dashboard, someone had placed a child's burnt shoe. Daniel swallowed hard. This wasn't just revenge. This was reconstruction. The killer was forcing the city to relive the fire, one victim at a time. Daniel brought Rowan in for questioning. The man was trembling, sweating, barely holding himself together. You want the truth? Fine. That fire wasn't an accident. Holt covered it up to protect someone. Who? He hesitated. His own son. Daniel went still. His son? Yes. He was a trainee. He arrived early. He saw everything. He froze. Hayes shouted at him to help, but he panicked. Holt shut the whole thing down to save his career. Daniel clenched his jaw. And the boy who died? He closed his eyes. He was 8. Daniel's pulse stopped for a moment. 8. Just like the drawing. Just like... Oh God. Just like someone who could be an adult. Old enough to kill. Daniel had a list of 8-year-olds who lived near the fire site in 2011. Only 3 survived into adulthood. 2 had moved out of state. 1 remained. Caleb Holt. The Hun of the fire captain who covered up everything. Now 20. Living alone. No job. No social media. Trained in firefighting as a teenager. Daniel's hands tightened on the steering wheel as he drove to Caleb's address. The front door was open. Inside smelt of smoke. Not cigarette smoke. Burnt plastic. Melted insulation. A figure sat on the floor, back to the wall. A young man with soot smeared across his face. Caleb Holt looked up, eyes empty, voice hoarse. I didn't kill them, he whispered. Daniel froze. What? Caleb shook his head violently. I wanted to. God knows I wanted to. But someone beat me to it. Daniel stepped forward slowly. Then who did this, Caleb? Caleb laughed bitterly. Detective, I wasn't the child who died. And I wasn't the only child there. Daniel's heart sunk. There was another one, Caleb said. A second kid. A friend of the boy. Trapped in the basement. The one they didn't find. Daniel felt cold sweat down his spine. He survived, Caleb whispered. Hayes knew. Man knew. They heard him screaming. Daniel swallowed hard. And that child? Where is he now? Caleb stared straight into Daniel's eyes. He's the one killing them. The real killer had been hidden in plain sight for years. His name? Noah Grayson. Age, 19. Born in the house adjacent to the one burned. Reported missing for 2 months after the fire. Found alive but severely traumatized. Moved
between foster homes. Disappeared at 17. Now, he was back. And he wanted the world to remember what happened in that burning house. Daniel tracked him to an abandoned concrete processing plant. The kind of place Noah would feel familiar with after the gravel pit murder. Inside, the air was thick with dust. Broken machines towered like skeletons. In the center stood Noah, thin, pale, shaking, holding a blunt metal tool. Around him lay 3 burned firefighter helmets, for the ones he hadn't killed yet. "Don't come closer," Noah rasped. Daniel raised a hand. "Noah, I'm here to talk. You're here to stop me, just like they stopped Hayes when he tried to tell. Just like they stopped Mann when he tried to confess." Noah lifted the tool. "They left us in that hell. They walked away while we screamed." Daniel shook his head. "Noah, those men were wrong, but murder won't bring anyone back." Noah's voice cracked. "It's not about bringing them back. It's about remembering them." He stepped forward. Daniel had no choice. The struggle broke out. Metal clanged. Dust rose in clouds. Noah swung wildly, crying, screaming, shaking with all the pain of his childhood. Daniel wrestled the tool away, pinning him to the ground. Noah collapsed, sobbing. It never stops burning. Every night, Daniel exhaled a long, painful breath. The nightmare was finally over. But the truth was far from clean. Noah Grayson was arrested. His case went national within hours. Psychologists called him a product of institutional failure. Activists called him a survivor turned vigilante. Families of the victims insisted justice was served. Daniel Cross knew the truth. There were no winners, only ashes. The city buried the 2011 case in a special review. Careers were destroyed. Evidence resurfaced. Rowan resigned. Holt's legacy shattered. And 3 dead firefighters became symbols of a system built on silence. Daniel stood in front of the rebuilt house one last time, watching the smoke from a distant chimney drift into the sky. Some fires, he realized, never truly go out, especially the ones inside people.